Hello everyone, welcome to TechLaw.Fest. This is Jeff and Emiliano from Glue. My name is Emiliano Baidenbaum and I'm the co-leader of the Worldwide Innovation Law Lab at HPE. And I'm here with Jeff. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you, Emiliano. How are you?
I'm good. Jeff, could you introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. I'm Jeff Fougere. I am one of the co-leads of the Worldwide Innovation Law Lab at Hewlett Packard Enterprise, and I'm also an innovation strategist in the legal department.
Perfect. Thank you, Jeff. Now, I invited you today because I wanted to talk about the metaverse, and I know the HPE legal department has been going deep into it. Could you share with the audience how the journey started and what you're doing in VR?
Sure. So when you think of cutting edge technology like virtual reality or the metaverse, you don't necessarily think of a legal department of all departments as leading the charge.
Right.
And it's been a really interesting story over the past few years. It all started, I would say, actually with the creation of the Innovation Law Lab in the legal department. This is kind of a unique entity within a legal department, and it really gave us a mandate to try to push the boundaries of innovation and technology, and to try and find new ways to connect with each other. So VR was actually a really interesting opportunity. This was probably around 3 years ago. The Oculus Quest had just come out. I just bought a Quest. I was really excited about playing some games in it. But what really captivated me was the ability to connect with other people, with your friends or colleagues from around the world. I had just returned from a trip to India for work. And I remember thinking it was so great because I got to have these in-person meetings with my colleagues that I wouldn't normally be able to connect with. And even with video calls, it's just not the same. So when I got the headset, I thought there's really nothing stopping us from using this same technology to try to have a more immersive meeting in VR or in the metaverse. And the Innovation Law Lab was a huge factor in bringing this to life because one of the sponsors of the Innovation Law Lab also had some cool ideas about using virtual reality. In his case, it was in the context of creating virtual war rooms. And if you're not familiar with that term, in the legal context, the war room is something like it's almost like a single purpose room in a real building. If you're working on a big case or if you're working on a big deal. And it's really interesting. So you have this room, it has a locked door so people can't enter except for certain folks. You can put exhibits or diagrams on the wall. And what's so nice about it is that it's a lot more of an immersive experience than just looking at PDFs on your computer or even printing documents. You can walk to a wall and you can see a diagram and you'll know that it'll always be there even if you come back in a week or a month. So one of the first use cases in the legal department for virtual reality was to create these virtual war rooms. And that's really how it all began.
Right, and you mentioned that you started using VR 3 years ago. Could you share with all how the landscape had changed from a platform perspective, technology, and even use cases?
Sure. It's changed a lot. And I know, Emiliano, even though you're the interviewer, I know you've been a big part of this as well. So you've got to see it in person also. So I would say from a hardware perspective, there's been some incredible changes. So the first Quest, which was kind of a marvel of technology when it came out, it was significantly less expensive than a lot of the other headsets. You didn't have to connect to a computer to use it, so it made it significantly easier to use. But even in just the last few years, they released a new Quest, which is lighter. It's has better battery life, better resolution. So from a hardware perspective, there were some really significant changes over the past few years. But I think from a software perspective, it's it's an even bigger leap in the technology. Emiliano, I know that you remember some of the early apps that we used to try to meet.
Right.
And some of the avatars were it was almost like a stick figure drawing.
Exactly.
So you'd have two dots for an eyes, you'd have a little circle for a mouth.
Yeah,
And look at how far it's come now.
Exactly.
Part of the reason why we're such fans of this app, which is called Glue, is the realism of the avatars. And you might not appreciate this if you're not looking for it, but a couple cool things that this app does is well, one, it blinks at semi-random intervals just to make it look a little more realistic. The eyebrows move based on what you're saying, as well as your mouth moves based on what you're saying. Uh, I'd actually say most apps that we have used, the mouth is just on or off. If there's audio coming out, the mouth is open. If there's no audio coming out, the mouth is closed. But what's really neat about this app is that your mouth moves based on what you're saying to make it seem a little bit more realistic.
Yes, I agree. There have been dramatic changes in just a matter of 3 years, and it's going to keep evolving. Now, you talked about war rooms. Can you share with us some of the use cases that you have for VR?
Sure. So we have a lot of use cases in the legal department. War rooms was really neat because you could create a virtualized space that other people couldn't access. But that's only one of the use cases. I'd say some of the other exciting things that we've done is we've had meetings. We have several people that have their regular meetings with their team in virtual reality. We've had watch parties in certain apps. So if you have, at our company, we have within your department maybe a quarterly meeting where the CEO comes on the stage and he's talking about things. But if you're not located in the headquarters, it's not going to be as exciting if you're just watching it on your computer. So we've actually created virtualized watch party spaces where we've invited dozens of people to come, and you can kind of talk and mingle during the presentation or before and after. We've also had, actually just recently, earlier this week, we had a design thinking workshop in a VR app, which was really exciting. I know your team was part of that. Yeah, so we had a certified practitioner of design thinking methods come in to VR. She was located in the UK. And we had around 15 people from one of the departments in legal. And we were basically having a structured brainstorming session to try to solve a big problem in the legal department, which is, how do we increase cross geo collaboration across our company? So it was really cool. We had Post-it notes put up, and it was a really immersive experience that I don't think would have felt the same if you were just doing it on a Zoom call.
Sorry, you mentioned that it wouldn't be the same in a Zoom call. Could you share with the audience your thoughts about why the metaverse or VR is better or different than Zoom for this sort of meeting?
Yeah, sure. So in a Zoom call or a Teams call, I've discovered that if you have more than 4 people, it becomes a little overwhelming. It's hard to have multiple conversations at the same time. You can't really have side conversations. It's almost like one person has the mic and they're the only person that can talk. But what's cool is that if you have a virtual reality space like this and you have 15, 30 people in it, people can kind of walk to a side if they want a little bit of privacy or a little bit of space. So it's just creating a very different environment which feels a lot more like real life than just looking at your screen.
So now you have been 3 years in the metaverse. Have there been any events or memories that are going to be stuck in your mind forever?
Yeah, there's a lot of memories. This is actually a really cool effect of virtual reality where you start to have memories of events in virtual reality. And I'd actually say maybe some of my most memorable events working at our company over the past few years have been in VR. So a couple that jump to mind is we had a holiday party last year, which was really exciting. I think we had, maybe 24 or so people attend that, which was just a great experience to be able to connect with people in a way that, most companies aren't really having holiday parties, at least in the last couple of years. So it was cool that we could bring something like that to life. Oh, actually, there's one more I just want to mention. So one of the first environments that we created in virtual reality was a museum experience, talking about our company's history. So we've been around since 1938, so 80 years of history. And we as a company, we started Silicon Valley. There's a plaque in front of the garage where our company was founded by the state of California that says this is the birthplace of Silicon Valley, this garage. So I was chatting with one of my colleagues in the legal department, Jim Schreckengast, and he had the idea of what if we built a to scale replica of the garage? You could walk into it. You could see some of the items that might have been on the workbench of our founders. And what if you could even have a simulated experience where the founders walk out of the garage and talk to you? And it's almost like a Disney style thing where they walk out and they say a pre-recorded script and then they leave. But that was a real wow moment. And I remember, Emiliano, you were part of that as well. But that was a very memorable moment for me in VR.
Yes, that was a huge milestone. I remember everyone in the senior legal meeting hearing that we were going to pursue officially VR and then jumping into the metaverse for the first time and just being there in the museum. It was so powerful moment, like memorable and also very personal because it touched on the culture and the company as a whole. So that was one of my favorite moments as well. Perfect. Well, Jeff, thank you for your time and thank you for sharing your insights with the rest of the audience. It was a pleasure talking to you as always, and have a good one. Thank you.
Thank you. You too.